The prophecy of the Chosen One is one of the most integral and mysterious elements in the Star Wars saga, tied deeply to the legacy of the Skywalker family. It is a prophecy that speaks of a figure who would bring balance to the Force, ending the Sith's reign and transforming the galaxy's future. Throughout the saga, this prophecy has had a profound impact on the events that unfold, and its true meaning is only revealed gradually. At its core, the prophecy of the Chosen One is tied to Anakin Skywalker, but its implications extend far beyond him, touching the lives of the entire galaxy. The Chosen One is not merely a figure born to fulfill a predetermined destiny. Rather, the prophecy serves as a lens through which the themes of fate, choice, and balance in the Force are explored. The prophecy first emerges as a mysterious and unwritten force in the galaxy. It is mentioned briefly by Qui-Gon Jinn in The Phantom Menace, where he speaks of a child who is strong with the Force and potentially fulfills the role of the Chosen One. Anakin Skywalker is introduced as the boy believed to be the one foretold, a boy who would bring balance to the Force by destroying the Sith. However, as the saga unfolds, it becomes evident that the Chosen One's path is neither simple nor clear-cut. In fact, the true nature of the prophecy and what it means to bring balance is a subject of much debate, not only among the Jedi, but also within the Sith and the galaxy at large. Anakin's birth and his connection to the prophecy are shrouded in mystery. According to Shmi Skywalker, Anakin's mother, he had no father, which suggests that his birth was a result of the Force itself. This immaculate conception foreshadows the idea that Anakin's destiny is connected to a greater cosmic force, much like the Chosen One prophecies in other mythologies that often speak of a figure born with extraordinary power and a predestined fate. Anakin is discovered by Qui-Gon Jinn on Tatooine, where he shows an unparalleled aptitude for pod racing and his ability to pilot a ship. But it is his sensitivity to the Force that draws Qui-Gon's attention. Qui-Gon believes that Anakin is the Chosen One mentioned in the prophecy, the one who will destroy the Sith and restore balance to the Force. The Jedi Council, however, is skeptical. They feel that Anakin is too young and too emotional to embody the role of the Chosen One. They sense his fear, his attachment to Shmi Skywalker, and his desire for power, all of which go against the Jedi teachings of detachment and discipline. It is this reluctance that marks one of the first signs of tension between Qui-Gon Jinn and the Jedi Council. Qui-Gon, trusting in his instincts and his belief in the prophecy, brings Anakin into the Jedi Order. But the doubts about Anakin's future and his role in the galaxy are never far behind. Anakin's attachment to Padme Amidala, his growing fear of loss, and his inability to accept the teachings of the Jedi are central to his eventual fall to the dark side and the fulfillment of the prophecy in a way no one expects. As Anakin's journey progresses, his struggles with the dark side and his attachment to his family are what ultimately shape his destiny. The Jedi Code, which dictates that Jedi must remain emotionally detached, directly conflicts with Anakin's deep sense of love and attachment to Padme. His fear of losing her becomes one of the central forces that drives him to the dark side, where he seeks out the power to control death and prevent Padme's death. Palpatine, the Sith Lord, manipulates Anakin's fear and insecurities, promising him the power to save Padme if only he joins the Sith and abandons the Jedi Order. This ultimately leads Anakin to take the name Darth Vader, betray his Jedi brothers, and become the Dark Lord of the Sith. The prophecy itself, when closely examined, reveals a deeper complexity than simply destroying the Sith. The balance the prophecy speaks of is not just about eliminating the dark side, it is about maintaining equilibrium within the Force. Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader is a necessary part of this process, as it is through his fall and his eventual redemption that the balance is restored. This connection between Anakin's fall and his redemption emphasizes the dual nature of the prophecy. The chosen one must bring balance, but that balance comes at a great personal cost. Anakin must first fall into darkness before he can truly rise to destroy the Sith and bring peace to the galaxy. Luke Skywalker, Anakin's son, becomes a key figure in the fulfillment of the prophecy. Luke is the one who ultimately redeems his father, fulfilling the chosen one's destiny. Luke's journey is deeply tied to Anakin's story. As the last hope for the Jedi, Luke struggles with his own fears and attachments, just as his father did before him. However, unlike Anakin, Luke is able to overcome his fear of loss, and through his compassion for his father, brings Anakin Skywalker back from the dark side. When Anakin Skywalker dies in Return of the Jedi, he fulfills the prophecy not by destroying the Sith outright, but by sacrificing himself to save Luke and destroy the Sith Lord, Emperor Palpatine. Anakin's death is the final act of redemption, and in doing so, he restores balance to the Force by defeating the Sith and bringing an end to the centuries-long conflict between the Jedi and the Sith. The prophecy of the Chosen One also raises important questions about the nature of prophecy and its role in the galaxy. In Star Wars, prophecy is not simply a deterministic force that dictates the future. Instead, it is a guiding principle that shapes the choices of individuals. The Jedi and the Sith both have their own interpretations of the prophecy, but the reality of the Chosen One's fate is not determined by prophecy alone. It is shaped by the choices of the individual. Anakin's story highlights the complex relationship between free will and destiny. The prophecy does not guarantee success or failure. It simply provides a framework for understanding the ultimate role of the Chosen One in the galaxy. The Sith's role in the prophecy also adds a layer of complexity to its meaning. The dark side, as embodied by Palpatine and the Sith, constantly seeks to distort the balance of the Force, pushing the galaxy into chaos and destruction. The Sith are obsessed with power, control, and immortality, and they believe that by wiping out the Jedi, they will gain ultimate dominance over the galaxy. The prophecy, however, states that the Chosen One will destroy the Sith, but not in the way they expect. The Sith are unable to comprehend that the balance of the Force requires not just the destruction of the dark side, but the redemption of the dark side itself. Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader, his subsequent fall and redemption, and his final act of sacrifice highlight this paradox. Destroying the Sith is not merely about annihilating them, but about bringing balance to the Force through a personal transformation that brings an end to the eternal conflict between the light and dark sides of the Force. Ultimately, the prophecy of the Chosen One reflects the overarching themes of Star Wars: the tension between fate and free will, the eternal conflict between the light and dark, and the redemptive power of love and sacrifice. Anakin's journey is one of tragic heroism. His rise, fall, and eventual redemption encapsulate the central message of Star Wars that even the most broken and lost individuals have the power to change, to find redemption, and to bring balance to the world around them. The prophecy of the Chosen One serves as a guidepost for the Star Wars saga, framing the journey of Anakin Skywalker and the galaxy's future. But it also asks the larger question: what does it mean to be the Chosen One? Is it a preordained destiny, or is it a path shaped by the choices made along the way? Rey's eventual role as the heir to the Skywalker name serves as an extension of the prophecy's themes. The balance of the Force is not achieved through the elimination of darkness, but through the embrace of light, the understanding of one's place in the galaxy, and the choice to act for the greater good. The prophecy of the Chosen One is ultimately not just about one individual fulfilling a destiny. It is about all of us shaping the future through our choices. The prophecy of the Chosen One holds immense weight in the Star Wars saga, shaping the destinies of key characters and influencing the events of the galaxy for generations. It's a concept that transcends mere destiny or fate, representing the eternal conflict between light and dark, and the ultimate struggle to restore balance to the Force. The prophecy is both a guiding force and a source of deep ambiguity, with no clear understanding of how its fulfillment will manifest until the very end of the saga. It speaks of a figure who will bring about a cosmic equilibrium, yet the precise meaning of that balance is not easily understood. The key figure in fulfilling this prophecy is Anakin Skywalker, whose story is intricately tied to the rise and fall of the Jedi and the Sith. From his birth to his fall as Darth Vader, Anakin embodies the tragic heroism central to the Skywalker legacy. His life is marked by a complex web of choices, some that bring him closer to fulfilling the prophecy, and others that steer him towards the dark side of the Force. In many ways, Anakin's story mirrors the cycle of balance and imbalance within the galaxy itself. The prophecy does not simply concern the elimination of the Sith or the restoration of the Jedi Order. It's far more profound. Anakin's journey is an internal struggle between his humanity, the light and dark sides of the Force, and the fate that seems to have been predetermined for him. The belief that Anakin Skywalker is the Chosen One is first presented to the Jedi Council by Qui-Gon Jinn in The Phantom Menace. His discovery of Anakin on Tatooine sparks a deep debate among the Jedi, who are skeptical of the prophecy and hesitant to believe that a mere child can be the one to fulfill it. Anakin's potential in the Force is undeniable, but the Jedi are torn by their traditional beliefs. They are taught that attachment leads to fear, and fear leads to the dark side. Anakin has attachments: his mother, Shmi Skywalker, and later, Padme Amidala, which the Jedi see as dangerous. Qui-Gon Jinn believes, however, that Anakin represents a force of nature, someone whose connection to the Force is unmatched, and his role in the galaxy's future is far beyond what the Jedi can fully comprehend. His instincts push him to trust in the prophecy, even though the Jedi Council is reluctant to acknowledge it. But the central question in the prophecy of the Chosen One is what it means to bring balance to the Force. In the prequel trilogy, the concept of balance remains elusive, and the Jedi, despite their wisdom, fail to fully understand its meaning. The Jedi, over time, have become a rigid order that adheres strictly to the code: detachment, discipline, and suppression of emotions. But Anakin Skywalker is different. He is not a figure born from a long tradition of Jedi teachings, but is a product of his humanity, his emotional attachments to others, his fear of loss, and his desire for control. These qualities make him more complex than any Jedi before him, and they are ultimately what lead him to fall to the dark side. Anakin's turning to the dark side is one of the most tragic moments in the saga. His attachment to Padme and his fear of losing her mirror the Jedi teachings that he had long struggled with. The Sith, particularly Palpatine, who is ultimately revealed to be the puppet master, exploit these fears, offering him a false promise of the power to prevent death and control his destiny. Anakin's ultimate decision to join the Sith, becoming Darth Vader, is not a moment of evil but a moment of fear and desperation. It is his failure to recognize the true nature of power and his inability to see that love and attachment are not the path to the dark side, but rather the key to the light. The turning point of the prophecy comes when Anakin, as Darth Vader, is consumed by fear and desire for control, ultimately serving the Emperor and helping bring about the destruction of the Jedi Order. His fall represents the galaxy's fall into darkness, as the Sith rise to power and bring about an era of tyranny. The galaxy, once full of hope and promise, is plunged into a deep state of despair. However, the prophecy's true meaning becomes clearer over time. Anakin must bring balance not just by destroying the Sith, but by reclaiming his humanity and redeeming himself. The final redemption of Anakin Skywalker comes at the hands of his son Luke Skywalker. Luke's journey mirrors that of his father's in many ways. He, too, must confront his fear of loss and his own attachment to others. Luke's personal growth and his ability to choose the light reflect his understanding of the true meaning of balance in the Force. Unlike his father, Luke does not succumb to the temptation of the dark side, though he is faced with similar choices. His compassion for his father, Anakin Skywalker, is the final piece that enables the Chosen One's redemption. Luke's refusal to kill his father and his ultimate faith in Anakin's redemption is what fulfills the prophecy. Balance is restored, not through destruction, but through the reconciliation of the light and dark sides of the Force. When Anakin Skywalker redeems himself in Return of the Jedi by killing Palpatine and saving Luke, he not only fulfills the prophecy, but also brings true balance to the Force. This balance is not about the eradication of the dark side, but the integration of both light and dark, recognizing the duality within the Force and the power of redemption. Anakin's act of sacrifice is not just the destruction of Palpatine, but the end of the Sith and the restoration of peace to the galaxy. His death symbolizes the end of the Skywalker family's tragic journey and marks the beginning of a new era, one where the legacy of the Chosen One has been fulfilled, not by a strict adherence to prophecy, but by the choices made by the individuals involved. The prophecy of the Chosen One also raises profound questions about fate and free will. Anakin's journey suggests that while prophecies may point to a predetermined outcome, the choices we make along the way can alter our path. Anakin's fall to the dark side was not inevitable. It was shaped by his fear of loss, his attachment to Padme, and his willingness to sacrifice his principles for the promise of control. His redemption, however, demonstrates that change is possible and that the ultimate balance of the Force comes from the integration of both sides, not the destruction of one or the other. In the end, the Chosen One is not simply a figure of prophecy destined to fulfill an inevitable fate. Instead, Anakin Skywalker's redemption is a testament to the power of choice, forgiveness, and the capacity for change in the galaxy. Rey's journey, as the eventual heir to the Skywalker legacy, is a continuation of the themes explored in the prophecy of the Chosen One. Although Rey is not the Chosen One foretold in the prophecy, her story mirrors Anakin's in the way that she too must struggle with her identity and balance the light and dark within her. Rey's rejection of her Palpatine heritage and her choice to embrace the Skywalker name signifies a new chapter in the galactic struggle. She, like Anakin, must choose her path, not based on bloodline, but on her choices and actions. Rey's eventual victory over the Sith and her embrace of the Skywalker legacy highlights the lasting impact of the Chosen One prophecy. It is fulfilled through the choices made by those who come after Anakin Skywalker. As we continue to explore the prophecy of the Chosen One, it becomes increasingly clear that the prophecy's impact on the galaxy extends far beyond the immediate consequences of Anakin Skywalker's rise and fall. While Anakin's journey is central to the prophecy's fulfillment, the galaxy's path itself is irrevocably altered by the consequences of his choices, not just in his fall, but in his ultimate redemption. The Star Wars saga is defined by the interplay of fate and free will, and the prophecy of the Chosen One stands as a powerful symbol of this central tension. It asks the question, can prophecy determine destiny, or are choices the true drivers of our fate? One of the most intriguing aspects of the prophecy of the Chosen One is the ambiguity of the term balance within the Force. Throughout the prequel trilogy, there is a sense that balance is a goal to be achieved by destroying the Sith, the dark side of the Force. But the true nature of this balance is never fully articulated. Anakin's rise to power as a Jedi, followed by his fall to the dark side and eventual redemption, suggests that the balance spoken of in the prophecy is not about exterminating one side of the Force, but about achieving a harmonious coexistence between the light and dark, a balance that encompasses the human experience, including both the light side's compassion and the dark side's temptation. This concept of balance within the Force is especially important because it frames the prophecy not just as the fulfillment of a destiny or a cosmic event, but as a personal journey. Anakin's fall to the dark side is not merely a tragic mistake or a failure of character. It is a direct response to his deep fears and his attachment to those he loves. The Jedi Order, which Anakin was sworn to protect, has long been defined by its doctrine of detachment, the belief that to be a Jedi, one must suppress emotions and avoid attachments. Yet, Anakin's greatest strength and his greatest vulnerability is his capacity for love. His attachment to Padme Amidala, coupled with his fear of losing her, leads him down the path toward the dark side, where Palpatine offers him the power to prevent death and keep his loved ones safe. Anakin's inability to reconcile his emotions with his Jedi responsibilities is a direct result of the Jedi Code's inability to embrace and understand human attachment. The Jedi have long believed that attachments lead to fear, fear leads to anger, and anger leads to suffering, a simplistic view that ultimately fails to address the complexities of the human experience. The dark side of the Force, as represented by the Sith, is predicated on the exploitation of fear, anger, and desire for control, and it is in Anakin's fear of loss that the Sith find a way to manipulate him. In his quest to save Padme, Anakin chooses the dark side, sacrificing his Jedi code and his integrity for the sake of a false promise. But in doing so, he loses not only Padme, but also his own humanity, transforming into the monstrous Darth Vader. Anakin Skywalker's transformation into Darth Vader represents the ultimate fulfillment of the prophecy in a way that no one could have predicted. The prophecy foretold that the Chosen One would bring balance to the Force, but this balance was not achieved through the elimination of the Sith or the destruction of the dark side. Instead, it was through the reconciliation of light and dark, the forgiveness of sins, and the redemption of the lost that balance was restored. Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader is not simply the destruction of the Jedi or the rise of evil, it is the necessary journey that allows for his redemption. Anakin Skywalker, despite his fall, is not beyond saving. Through his sacrifice in Return of the Jedi, where he chooses to save his son, Luke Skywalker, and destroy Palpatine, Anakin fulfills the prophecy by ultimately destroying the Sith and bringing balance to the Force. Luke Skywalker, in many ways, represents the hope that the Skywalker family can bring balance to the Force without falling to the same mistakes of the past. Unlike Anakin, who was consumed by fear and attachment, Luke manages to avoid the dark side's temptations and instead embraces the redemptive power of love. Luke's ultimate success comes when he refuses to kill his father, Darth Vader, despite the Emperor's orders. Instead of embracing hatred or vengeance, Luke Skywalker chooses to save his father, and in doing so proves that the light side of the Force is not about suppression, but about selflessness, hope, and the desire to heal. Luke's redemption of Anakin is the true fulfillment of the prophecy, for it is Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, who in his final act of love and sacrifice destroys the Sith and brings peace to the galaxy. In killing Palpatine to save Luke, Anakin restores balance, not through the complete destruction of the dark side, but through his willingness to sacrifice himself for the greater good. The prophecy of the Chosen One also touches on a deeper cosmic struggle between light and dark, freedom and control, that runs throughout the Star Wars saga. The Sith, as followers of the dark side, seek to impose order through control, manipulation, and fear. Their philosophy is one of domination, where the strong subjugate the weak, and the light side is viewed as a weakness. The Jedi, in contrast, embrace freedom, selflessness, and the protection of all life. But their code is flawed by their detachment and inability to connect with others on a personal level. The balance in the Force is not about the complete eradication of one side or the other, but about the ability to embrace both aspects, the light and the dark, the good and the bad, and understand that both sides are necessary to the balance of the galaxy. This idea of balance is integral to understanding the prophecy of the Chosen One, as it emphasizes that the Force is not a binary system, but a complex, ever-shifting energy that requires both sides to coexist. Rey, as the ultimate heir to the Skywalker legacy, represents the continuation of the prophecy in a new generation. While she is not the Chosen One foretold by prophecy, her journey mirrors Anakin Skywalker's in many ways. Like Anakin, Rey faces the temptation of the dark side through her connection to Palpatine. But unlike Anakin, Rey is able to reject the dark side's lure and embrace the light, not out of destiny, but because of her choices. Rey's ultimate victory over Palpatine and her adoption of the Skywalker name serve as the next chapter in the Skywalker legacy, a legacy that, while marked by tragedy and conflict, ultimately restores balance through redemption and sacrifice. Rey's redemption of Ben Solo and her own decision to embrace the Skywalker name show that the prophecy of the Chosen One extends beyond Anakin Skywalker. It is a legacy of hope, choice, and the power to redeem oneself. As the prophecy of the Chosen One echoes through the timeline of the Star Wars saga, its implications stretch beyond the immediate events surrounding Anakin Skywalker's rise, fall, and redemption. The true significance of this prophecy lies in its ability to shape not just the fate of individual characters, but the entire galaxy. Throughout the saga, the Force has been a fundamental force of nature, a powerful energy that binds all living things together. However, it is through the lens of balance that we begin to understand the deeper meaning behind the prophecy. Anakin, Luke, and Rey, each in their own way, represent the realization of this balance, showcasing the complex interaction between light and dark, hope and fear, and the ultimate power of choice. The Sith and their philosophy of domination are driven by a desire to control, manipulate, and suppress all forces that threaten their power. Their manipulation of fear, anger, and hate seeks to bend the galaxy to their will, to bring order to chaos by subjugating the weak. This, in their view, is the true path to balance, a rigid and structured universe in which they, as the most powerful, are able to dictate the fate of all life. But the Sith's vision of balance is inherently flawed. Their embrace of the dark side, while powerful, leads only to tyranny, corruption, and a never-ending cycle of violence. In contrast, the Jedi, while bound by their own set of rules and traditions, strive for a more holistic approach to balance, one that focuses on selflessness, compassion, and the greater good. However, the Jedi Order's own dogmatic rules lead to their failure to fully understand the true nature of balance in the Force. Their insistence on detachment, their fear of attachment, and their inability to adapt to the galaxy's changing circumstances contribute to the downfall of the Jedi Order. The prophecy of the Chosen One, as articulated through Anakin Skywalker, is ultimately a reflection of the galaxy's inherent conflict between these two opposing forces, the light side and the dark side. Anakin's rise and fall represent not just the struggle of the Skywalker family, but the entire galaxy's journey toward achieving true balance. Anakin Skywalker, as the Chosen One, is the key to this balance, not because he is fated to destroy the Sith and bring about a utopian peace, but because his journey represents the complexity of the Force itself. Anakin's actions, though marked by tragedy and internal conflict, ultimately lead to the destruction of the Sith and the restoration of balance to the Force. His fall to the dark side, while devastating, is necessary to the galaxy's understanding of balance, and it is his redemption through his son Luke Skywalker that brings about the final fulfillment of the prophecy. Luke Skywalker, who embodies the hope of the Jedi, is not just a figure of redemption but also of choice. Luke, unlike Anakin, is able to resist the dark side's temptation and ultimately confronts his own inner demons in his journey towards self-discovery. Luke's refusal to kill Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, even when urged by the Emperor, is one of the most defining moments in the saga. Luke chooses the light side, not through sheer power, but through love, compassion, and the belief in redemption. This choice to reject vengeance and embrace love is the final test of balance. One that, unlike Anakin's earlier decisions, does not lead to destruction but to the restoration of hope and peace in the galaxy. In choosing not to destroy his father, Luke becomes the bridge that brings Anakin back to the light, fulfilling the prophecy not through the elimination of the Sith, but through the healing of the fractured family. The balance the prophecy speaks of is ultimately achieved through self-sacrifice and the willingness to choose the greater good, a lesson that Anakin had to learn the hard way. In the wake of Luke Skywalker's redemption of Anakin, the galaxy enters a period of healing. The Sith, as a force of domination, are destroyed, and the Jedi begin to rebuild. However, the Sith's influence has not disappeared entirely. Their legacy continues to haunt the galaxy, and it is in this aftermath that Rey, the last hope of the Skywalker family, must confront the ghosts of the past. Rey's connection to the Skywalker legacy is not a continuation of Anakin's journey, but rather an opportunity to rewrite the story of the Chosen One. In Rey's own journey, we see the prophecy's fulfillment in a new light. Rey Skywalker represents the next step in the balance of the Force, but unlike Anakin or Luke, her story is not one of inherited destiny, but of choice. Rey is not defined by her bloodline, but by her ability to choose the light and to reject the darkness. She is the living proof that the legacy of the Skywalkers can be redefined, and the balance in the galaxy can be restored through self-determination rather than fate. The prophecy of the Chosen One is ultimately about more than just a single individual's journey. It is about the galaxy's relationship with the Force. the understanding that balance is not a fixed state, but an ongoing process that requires continuous self-reflection, adaptation, and growth. The force itself is not inherently good or evil. It is the choices of individuals that determine the path the galaxy takes. The Skywalkers have always been at the center of this cosmic struggle, but their role in the galaxy is not about fulfilling a preordained fate. It is about the choices they make, the sacrifices they are willing to make, and their ability to shape their own destinies. The Jedi, the Sith, and the galaxy itself are not bound by the prophecy, but by the choices of those who rise to meet it. Anakin, Luke, and Rey each embody different facets of the prophecy's meaning, but their journeys ultimately lead to the same conclusion. Balance is not achieved through power, but through self-sacrifice, love, and the willingness to choose light over darkness. As the saga of the Skywalkers comes to a close, Rey Skywalker embodies the future of the galaxy. She is not simply the heir to a family legacy defined by prophecy, but the heir to a legacy of hope, choice, and healing. The galaxy, though scarred by war and oppression, is poised for a new era of peace, one that is not bound by the failures of the past, but shaped by the decisions of those who choose to make a difference. Rey's journey does not just fulfill the prophecy of the Chosen One, but redefines it for a new generation, a generation that will carry the lessons of the past forward, not as a burden, but as a guide for shaping a better future. The prophecy of the Chosen One, as it pertains to the Star Wars saga, is more than just an ancient prediction about a singular figure who will bring balance to the Force. It encapsulates the galaxy's struggle with light and dark, order and chaos, and the very nature of fate and free will. It touches on the force of destiny, which can guide the universe, and yet is tempered by the choices individuals make, both consciously and unconsciously. Through Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, and Rey Skywalker, we see a multi-generational journey that intertwines the idea of a chosen one with the broader struggles of self-determination, redemption, and the ever-present influence of the Force. The prophecy, as it was understood by the Jedi, was that the Chosen One would come to destroy the Sith and restore balance to the Force. This prophecy served as both hope and fear. Hope for the Jedi, who awaited the return of the balance, and fear for the Sith, who saw in the Chosen One a threat to their empire. Anakin Skywalker, from the moment he was discovered by Qui-Gon Jinn on Tatooine, was believed to be the Chosen One. His birth, through an immaculate conception, as told by his mother Shmi Skywalker, hinted at a cosmic intervention that marked him as the fulfillment of the prophecy. However, the unfolding events of Anakin's life serve as a stark reminder of the complexities surrounding prophecy in the galaxy. Anakin's journey as the Chosen One is fraught with internal conflict, fear, and attachment, which are precisely the qualities that the Jedi Order tried to avoid in their members. In their rigid adherence to the belief that emotions, specifically attachment, lead to the dark side, the Jedi failed to understand Anakin's human nature. His relationships with Padme Amidala and his attachment to his mother were central to his emotional turmoil. The Jedi Code's rejection of attachment left Anakin feeling isolated and misunderstood, allowing him to be manipulated by Palpatine, who offered him a way to escape his deepest fears, the fear of losing those he loved. The Sith, with their promise of power and immortality, appeal to Anakin's deepest fears, ultimately causing him to embrace their philosophy. This moment marks Anakin's fall to the dark side, when he takes the name Darth Vader. It is in this state that Anakin begins to understand the true cost of his choices. He is trapped, both by his own emotions and by the manipulations of Palpatine. But what the Sith fail to grasp is that while they have manipulated Anakin, they have not accounted for his capacity for redemption. Anakin's fall and eventual redemption are crucial to understanding how balance in the Force is achieved. The Sith's desire for immortality through the dark side of the Force is a direct contradiction to the Jedi's understanding of balance. They believe that to live forever is to defy the natural flow of life and death. Palpatine, the Emperor, sought to corrupt the galaxy and ensure his rule through fear and control. However, he, like Anakin, failed to understand that the Force cannot be manipulated through forceful control alone. The prophecy, though initially interpreted as the destruction of the Sith, ultimately points to a deeper truth: the dark side must be allowed to exhaust itself. Anakin's redemption, when he chooses to save Luke over preserving the Empire, represents this turning point. Balance is restored, not by the destruction of the dark side, but through self-sacrifice and reconciliation. The destruction of the Sith is achieved not through violence, but through Anakin's return to the light and his sacrifice to save his son. Luke Skywalker's role in fulfilling the prophecy is as crucial as Anakin's. While Anakin is the chosen one, it is Luke, his son, who redeems him. Luke's journey is marked by his internal struggle with the same temptations that plagued his father: fear, attachment, and the desire for power. Luke is, in many ways, the opposite of Anakin. While Anakin is consumed by his fears and attachments, Luke is able to embrace the light side of the Force and choose the path of hope and selflessness. His ultimate test comes when he chooses not to kill his father, Darth Vader, even though Emperor Palpatine urges him to do so. Instead, Luke remains true to the values of the Jedi, embracing the power of compassion and forgiveness, which ultimately leads to the redemption of his father and the destruction of Palpatine. Luke's act of mercy for his father signifies the true fulfillment of the prophecy of the Chosen One, not through violence or destruction, but through selflessness and love. Anakin Skywalker's final act of sacrifice, choosing to destroy Palpatine and save his son, ends the Sith reign and fulfills the prophecy by restoring balance to the Force. Anakin's redemption shows that balance does not come from eliminating the dark side entirely, but from acknowledging and integrating the dark side within oneself. The true power of the Chosen One is not in destruction, but in the choice to redeem and restore peace. In The Rise of Skywalker, Rey Skywalker emerges as the latest bearer of the Skywalker legacy and a figure who continues the themes of balance and redemption that have marked the entire saga. Rey, unlike Anakin or Luke, is not bound by the same prophecies or fate. Instead, she is the product of choices, of self-determination, and her story ultimately marks a shift in the understanding of what it means to be a Skywalker. Her connection to the Force is unique, and while she is tied to the Skywalker legacy through her connection to Ben Solo, the grandson of Darth Vader, Rey's ultimate victory over Palpatine signifies the true fulfillment of the Chosen One's prophecy in a new way. Rey does not become a Jedi because of fate or destiny. She becomes one through her choices and commitment to the values of the Skywalkers. Her choice to take the Skywalker name at the end of The Rise of Skywalker is a powerful statement, not just about her inheritance of their legacy, but about her embrace of the balance the Skywalkers brought to the Force. In rejecting her dark heritage and choosing to embrace the light, Rey carries forward the message of the prophecy that true balance comes not from destroying the dark side, but by integrating it with the light, learning from it, and embracing the power of redemption. As we continue to examine the prophecy of the Chosen One, we uncover the larger theme of balance that permeates the Star Wars saga. The prophecy, which foretells that the Chosen One will bring balance to the Force, not only refers to the destruction of the Sith, but also symbolizes a greater struggle within the galaxy and the individual. At the heart of this prophecy is the idea of duality, and the balance between the light and dark sides of the Force is essential to the understanding of the saga's overarching narrative. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, embodies this duality within himself, and his journey ultimately highlights the balance between hope and despair, freedom and control, and redemption and fall. The idea of balance in the Force is not simply about the eradication of evil or the dominance of the light side, but about the relationship between the two opposing forces. Both the Jedi and the Sith view balance through different lenses, which leads to contrasting interpretations of the prophecy. For the Jedi, balance is traditionally understood as the preservation of peace and the elimination of the dark side. The Jedi Code emphasizes detachment, self-discipline, and the suppression of emotions, particularly fear, which the Jedi believe leads to anger and eventually to the dark side. However, this detachment from emotions, while offering the Jedi the clarity to act impartially, also causes them to become out of touch with the realities of the galaxy. The Jedi, in their efforts to preserve the balance, fail to fully understand the humanity of those they protect. Anakin Skywalker is an embodiment of this gap between the Jedi teachings and the actual human experience. Anakin's emotional attachments, particularly to his mother and Padme Amidala, are central to his internal conflict. While the Jedi Code demands that he suppress his emotions, his love and attachment to Padme are not easily dismissed. Anakin's fear of losing her leads him down a dangerous path, one that ultimately leads him to make a choice that will forever alter the fate of the galaxy. The Jedi's failure to acknowledge human emotions as an important aspect of balance is one of the primary reasons Anakin falls to the dark side. The Jedi Order, in their attempt to maintain balance through detachment, fail to see that true balance requires an understanding and acceptance of emotions, not their suppression. The balance that Anakin seeks is one of accepting both his light and dark sides, his love and his fear, and his eventual redemption is a testament to the idea that balance is achieved when one embraces both sides of their nature, rather than denying them. The Sith, in contrast, view balance through a completely different lens. The Sith believe that the Force is about control, the control of emotions, of others, and of the galaxy itself. They believe that only through domination can balance be achieved, and this philosophy is embodied in their obsession with power. The Sith seek to control the galaxy through fear, manipulation, and destruction, believing that order and balance can only come from the subjugation of others. The Sith's view of the Force is one of domination rather than harmony, and it is this imbalance that leads to their downfall. Palpatine, the Sith Lord who manipulates Anakin Skywalker, is a symbol of the dark side's inability to achieve true balance. While he seeks ultimate power and immortality, he is blind to the fact that true balance is not about control. It is about reconciliation between light and dark. The ultimate fulfillment of the prophecy of the Chosen One occurs not when the Sith are destroyed, but when Anakin Skywalker, in his final act of self-sacrifice, chooses to redeem himself and destroy the Sith. His fall to the dark side and subsequent redemption through his son Luke Skywalker underscores the central theme of balance. Anakin's redemption is the key to restoring balance to the Force, not through the complete elimination of the dark side, but through self-awareness and sacrifice. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, brings balance to the Force by reconciling his inner darkness and choosing to act selflessly for the good of the galaxy. It is through Luke Skywalker's actions that the true meaning of the prophecy is revealed. While Anakin's fall to the dark side represents the imbalance within the Force, Luke's refusal to kill his father, Darth Vader, and his belief in the possibility of redemption for his father mark the moment when balance is restored. Luke's decision to choose the light over the dark is not a rejection of the dark side, but an acceptance of its role in the galaxy. The dark side must be acknowledged and integrated into the balance of the Force rather than destroyed. Anakin's sacrifice in Return of the Jedi is the ultimate act of redemption, as he destroys the Sith and restores balance by choosing the light in his final moments. Rey Skywalker, as the final heir to the Skywalker legacy, represents a new phase in the fulfillment of the prophecy. Though Rey is not explicitly foretold as the chosen one, her journey mirrors that of Anakin and Luke in significant ways. Like Anakin, Rey grapples with her fear of the dark side, especially after discovering her connection to Palpatine, one of the most infamous figures of the dark side. Like Luke, Rey is confronted with the temptation of the dark side through her connection to Kylo Ren. However, Rey Skywalker breaks free from the cycle of fear and domination that has plagued her family's history. Instead of being bound by her heritage as the granddaughter of Palpatine, Rey embraces the Skywalker name as a symbol of hope, compassion, and balance. Rey's journey to restore balance in the galaxy is not about defeating the dark side, but about healing it. In her final battle against Palpatine, Rey does not seek to destroy her enemy. Instead, she channels the power of the Skywalkers, Luke, Leia, and even Ben Solo, to overcome the darkness. Rey's victory represents the culmination of the prophecy of the Chosen One, as she shows that balance is achieved not through eliminating the dark side, but through embracing the light and forgiving the past. In choosing the Skywalker legacy, Rey transcends her dark lineage and creates a new path for the future, one in which the light is not a mere antithesis to the dark, but a force that heals and restores balance. As we continue to explore the prophecy of the Chosen One and its profound implications, it becomes clear that its true meaning extends far beyond the destruction of the Sith or the restoration of balance to the Force. The prophecy's fulfillment speaks to deeper philosophical concepts that transcend the galactic conflicts of the Jedi and Sith. Ultimately, the prophecy emphasizes the complex relationship between choice, redemption, and the nature of balance within the galaxy. The Force itself is not a simple dichotomy of light versus dark, good versus evil. Rather, it is an intricate and dynamic energy field that influences and connects all living things. The Force represents the entirety of the galaxy's existence, from the most mighty to the most insignificant. It exists in constant flux, subject to the choices and actions of those who wield it. The light side represents the ideals of selflessness, compassion, and harmony with the galaxy, while the dark side is characterized by fear, anger, and the pursuit of domination. However, neither side is truly complete without the other. The Force is ultimately about balance, and the prophecy of the Chosen One encapsulates this by suggesting that true harmony is not about the elimination of the dark, but about the integration of both light and dark into a whole that serves the greater good. Anakin's fall to the dark side in Revenge of the Sith represents the imbalance caused by the rejection of emotions, especially attachment. The Jedi, despite their wisdom, have always preached that the light side of the Force is found through detachment, the rejection of attachment, fear, and desire. But Anakin's humanity lies in his attachments, his deep love for Padme Amidala, his fear of losing her, and his attachment to his mother, Shmi Skywalker. The Jedi Order's refusal to acknowledge these emotions is one of the primary reasons Anakin ultimately falls to the dark side. His fear of loss becomes his greatest weakness, and in an attempt to control the galaxy's future and the people he loves, he is manipulated by Palpatine, who promises him the power to prevent death and hold on to those he cherishes. Anakin's eventual fall is symbolic of the broader tragic flaw inherent in the Jedi Order. The Jedi Code, with its focus on detachment, fails to account for the reality of the human condition. Fear and attachment are not inherently dangerous. They are a part of the natural human experience. It is through understanding and mastery of these emotions that true balance is found. Anakin's inability to integrate his emotions with the teachings of the Jedi makes him vulnerable to manipulation and ultimately leads him down the path of darkness. It is only when Anakin is able to embrace his humanity in his final sacrifice for his son, Luke Skywalker, that he fulfills the prophecy and brings balance to the Force. Luke Skywalker plays a pivotal role in the prophecy's fulfillment, as he represents the hope and redemption that Anakin Skywalker needed in order to find his way back to the light. Luke, like his father, struggles with his attachment to family and the temptation of the dark side. In The Empire Strikes Back, when Luke confronts Vader, he is filled with anger and fear, emotions that he has been taught to avoid. But unlike his father, Luke chooses to forgive and embrace compassion, which is ultimately what allows him to overcome the dark side. In his confrontation with Vader and his decision to spare him, Luke demonstrates the power of selflessness, an essential quality of the light side. It is through Luke's ability to redeem his father that the balance of the Force is ultimately restored. Luke's decision to spare Vader's life and to refuse to kill him is not just an act of mercy, it is the key to the galaxy's salvation. Through this act, Luke completes the prophecy, not by destroying the dark side, but by choosing to heal it. Anakin Skywalker's redemption comes through his son's love and compassion, and in this way, the prophecy becomes a reflection of the power of choice and redemption. Anakin's death at the hands of the Emperor and his final self-sacrifice represents the end of the Sith and the restoration of balance in the Force. Rey Skywalker's role in this prophecy is not as the chosen one foretold, but as the heir to the Skywalker legacy and the next generation that will continue the balance in the galaxy. Her connection to the Skywalkers and her eventual defeat of Palpatine represents the final phase of the prophecy's fulfillment. In The Rise of Skywalker, Rey is faced with the temptation of the dark side as she struggles with her Palpatine heritage and her potential to embrace the darkness within her. But unlike Anakin, Rey makes the choice to embrace the light and to reject her dark legacy. Rey's final victory over Palpatine is not about destroying the Sith, it is about integrating the light and dark within herself and forgiving the past. In this way, Rey completes the balance of the Force that was foretold in the prophecy, not by eradicating the darkness, but by choosing love and hope in the face of overwhelming darkness. The Sith, in their quest for immortality and control, are ultimately defeated not through their own power, but through the choice of others. Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, and Rey Skywalker are the central figures who restore balance to the galaxy, not by destroying the Sith or vanquishing evil in the traditional sense, but by choosing the light, forgiving the past, and embracing compassion. Their journeys represent the evolution of the prophecy of the Chosen One, a prophecy that is not a fixed event in the galaxy's timeline, but a dynamic force that can be reshaped by the choices of those who live it. In the end, balance in the Force is not a destination, but a journey, a continuous struggle between the light and dark sides, and the personal choices that lead individuals to either embrace the light or fall into the darkness. The Jedi and Sith both fail to fully understand the true nature of balance. It is not about domination or suppression, but about the reconciliation of all aspects of the Force. The Chosen One's journey is not just about destroying evil, but about redeeming the darkness and finding peace within oneself. Through Anakin, Luke, and Rey, we see that balance is achieved not through eliminating the dark side, but through embracing both the light and dark and making the conscious decision to act for the greater good. As we continue to explore the prophecy of the Chosen One and its legacy in shaping the galaxy's future, it's important to reflect on the galactic consequences of Anakin Skywalker's fulfillment of this prophecy. Anakin's redemption, his final act of sacrifice in destroying Palpatine and restoring balance to the Force, has far-reaching effects not just on the immediate struggle between the Sith and the Jedi, but on the entire galaxy. The galactic peace that follows Anakin's death, as well as the eventual rebuilding of the Jedi Order by Rey, signifies the larger transformation that occurs not just within individuals but within the galaxy itself. The galaxy is no longer defined by the destructive battle between the Jedi and the Sith, but is given a chance to rebuild, heal, and find a new balance. In the aftermath of Anakin Skywalker's redemption, there is a vacuum of power in the galaxy. The Sith, long the orchestrators of chaos and destruction, are defeated. But the Sith's legacy does not disappear overnight. The dark side of the Force still exists, and remnants of the First Order remain, as seen in the rise of Skywalker. These factions are not easily eradicated, as the dark side still possesses a potent allure, especially for those who are gripped by fear or hunger for power. It is only through the concerted efforts of those like Rey, Finn, and others who are committed to the ideals of peace, justice, and compassion that the galaxy begins to heal and move forward. Rey, having claimed the Skywalker name, emerges as a symbol of hope for the galaxy. While the Jedi Order will undoubtedly face challenges in the future, Rey's leadership represents a departure from the old ways. Rather than the rigid, hierarchical structure that defined the old Republic Jedi, Rey's vision for the new Jedi Order is rooted in balance, an acceptance of both the light and the dark, the rejection of the extremes that led to the Jedi's downfall in the first place. Rey's personal journey, marked by the struggles with her own dark heritage and the decision to choose the light, speaks to the larger galactic shift away from the black and white thinking that dominated the past. The Sith, for centuries, have clung to their philosophy of control, believing that the only way to bring order to the galaxy is through domination and the elimination of the weak. They sought to impose their will upon the galaxy by force, creating empires that have long been built on the backs of fear and subjugation. But Anakin Skywalker's redemption and Rey's eventual victory over Palpatine reveal a critical truth: the dark side, when used for domination and selfishness, can never create true balance. While Palpatine's reign was built on fear and the pursuit of absolute power, his ultimate downfall proves that the light side is the true path to the future. The Force is about unity, not about dominance, and the struggle between light and dark is not an external battle to be fought with weapons, but an internal struggle between fear and hope, compassion and greed. Rey's ultimate triumph is symbolic not just of her own personal growth, but of the galaxy's collective ability to overcome the darkness that has defined so much of its past. In embracing her Skywalker legacy and choosing to stand against Palpatine, Rey signals the beginning of a new era for the galaxy. This new era will not be defined by the failures of the past. whether that be the Jedi's dogmatic approach, the Sith's tyranny, or the Empire's control, but by a new balance in the Force, one that embraces compassion, selflessness, and the ability to act in service to others. The galaxy's rebuilding also reflects the larger thematic elements of the Star Wars saga, one of redemption, second chances, and the power of choice. The prophecy of the Chosen One suggests that balance cannot be achieved through absolute control or by eliminating the darkness entirely. Instead, it speaks to the dual nature of the Force, its ability to bring about both creation and destruction, light and dark, and how those elements must be reconciled within oneself and within the galaxy as a whole. The Jedi of the future will have to embrace the reality that the Force is not a fixed, binary system. While the Jedi of the past rejected attachments and saw them as dangerous, Rey's Jedi will embrace the human experience as essential to their understanding of balance. Their mission will not be to eliminate the dark side, but to find balance within themselves and the galaxy. The Jedi, as envisioned by Rey, will no longer be isolated or detached from the world around them, but will be integrated into the fabric of society, working with others to maintain peace and balance. As Rey steps into her role as the leader of the new Jedi Order, she will face the challenge of uniting a galaxy still recovering from the wounds of war. But in choosing the Skywalker name, she has already set the tone for what the future of the galaxy could look like, one of healing, compassion, and hope. The legacy of the Skywalkers is no longer defined by prophecies or bloodlines, but by the choices made by those who choose to embrace the light in the face of overwhelming darkness. The Force, like the galaxy, is always in flux, and the choices made by individuals like Rey, Luke, and Anakin are what ultimately determine its future. In this new galaxy, Rey's Jedi Order will be challenged, no doubt, by new threats and difficult choices. Yet, the Skywalker legacy and Anakin Skywalker's prophecy remains a symbol of hope for the galaxy. Balance has been restored, not through destruction, but through understanding, healing, and the willingness to move forward, leaving behind the mistakes of the past. The galaxy's future, while uncertain, is now defined by the choices of those who seek to create a better world. A world where the light side of the Force no longer stands in opposition to the dark side, but where the two can coexist in a new balance. The prophecy of the Chosen One not only shaped the destinies of key figures within the Skywalker family, but also had a profound impact on the galaxy's fate. As Anakin Skywalker fulfilled the prophecy through his redemption, a new understanding of balance in the Force emerged, marking the transition from a cycle of endless war to a time of potential healing. The Sith are defeated, the Jedi reimagined, and a new hope for the galaxy arises with Rey Skywalker. However, the galaxy's journey toward peace and balance is far from straightforward, and the aftermath of Anakin's redemption presents new challenges that future generations will need to face. One of the central themes woven into the prophecy of the Chosen One is the notion of redemption, not just as a personal journey, but as a galactic necessity. Anakin Skywalker, through his fall to the dark side and his eventual redemption by his son Luke Skywalker, becomes the embodiment of this theme. Anakin's story, from his rise as a promising Jedi to his fall as Darth Vader, and ultimately his return to the light, underscores the idea that the Force is not a mere tool to be wielded for control, but a living energy that requires balance, understanding, and compassion. The redemption of Anakin is not just a personal act, but one that brings galactic peace, and it becomes the final fulfillment of the prophecy of the Chosen One. However, redemption is not an easy or simple process. The galaxy, scarred by the actions of the Sith, is left to rebuild after the destruction of the Empire. The First Order, born from the ashes of the Sith, continues to sow chaos, and its remnants challenge the notion that peace can ever truly be achieved. The galaxy is filled with individuals who have lived through the long years of war, oppression, and manipulation. Rey Skywalker, as the heir to the Skywalker legacy, stands at the forefront of this rebuilding, but her leadership is not merely a continuation of the Jedi's work. It is a redefinition of what it means to be a Jedi and to bring balance to the galaxy. Rey's transformation from scavenger to savior mirrors Anakin's journey, but where Anakin struggled with his attachments and fear, Rey is able to forge a new path. She does not rely on prophecy or destiny, but on her choices. This difference in their journeys is significant, as it suggests that the future of the galaxy lies not in the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, but in the choices of individuals. The Skywalker family, particularly through Rey, is no longer defined by the weight of prophecy or the conflict between the light and dark sides of the Force. Instead, it is defined by the ability to choose and by the strength to create a new future, unbound by the mistakes of the past. Rey's decision to adopt the Skywalker name at the end of The Rise of Skywalker is not just symbolic, it represents the reclaiming of the Skywalker legacy. The legacy of the Skywalkers, long tied to conflict, is now redefined through Rey's choices, choices that represent hope, healing, and the potential for balance in the Force. By choosing the Skywalker name, Rey rejects the darkness of her Palpatine heritage and instead embraces the Skywalker legacy of love, sacrifice, and redemption. She understands that balance in the Force comes not through domination, but through accepting both the light and dark sides, and through the compassion that the Skywalkers, in their own flawed ways, have always strived to embody. One of the most important aspects of Rey's journey is her ability to integrate the light and dark sides of the Force. While the Jedi of the past were defined by their rejection of attachment and their suppression of emotions, Rey's understanding of the Force allows her to recognize the importance of her attachments, particularly her love for Leia and her bond with Ben Solo. These attachments, far from leading her to the dark side, become the source of her strength. Her decision to forgive Ben Solo, to choose compassion over revenge, is the moment when Rey fully embraces the Skywalker legacy, choosing to redeem rather than destroy. In this act of redemption, she fulfills the true meaning of the prophecy, not by defeating the dark side entirely, but by embracing both aspects of the Force, finding harmony within herself and the galaxy. The galaxy, like Rey, must also find balance, not through the destruction of the Sith or the elimination of the dark side, but through the understanding that both sides of the Force play essential roles in the natural order. The Sith, with their obsession for power, will always be a threat to peace. However, the dark side is not inherently evil. It is the misuse of the dark side, the desire for control, and the rejection of empathy that leads to corruption and destruction. In this way, Rey's understanding of the Force is one that acknowledges the necessity of both light and dark. It is through this understanding that the Jedi of the future will be able to truly bring balance, not by eradicating the darkness, but by recognizing it and learning to use the light to bring about peace. Rey's redemption of Ben Solo is another key aspect of the galactic healing process. Ben, like his grandfather Anakin, is torn between the light and dark sides of the Force. He struggles with his identity, his legacy, and his inner turmoil. Rey, understanding the power of forgiveness, chooses to save him, just as Luke Skywalker saved his father. This act of compassion is the ultimate fulfillment of the prophecy. Through Rey's willingness to heal Ben, the galaxy is given the opportunity to move beyond the cycle of Sith and Jedi, light and dark, and into a new future, one where the Force is not about control or domination, but about healing, growth, and balance. As the galaxy moves forward, Rey will face the challenges of leadership, rebuilding, and restoring peace. But her story offers a new hope, a hope that the Skywalker legacy, though marked by tragedy and conflict, can be redefined by the choices made by individuals who choose to embrace compassion and balance. The prophecy of the Chosen One may have pointed to Anakin as the one who would destroy the Sith and bring balance, but Rey Skywalker proves that balance is not a preordained fate, but a choice made through love, forgiveness, and the willingness to move forward. In the aftermath of the Sith's defeat and the end of the First Order, the galaxy finds itself at a crossroads. The prophecy of the Chosen One, once thought to be a singular event with a clear destiny, reveals itself to be far more complex. While Anakin Skywalker fulfilled the prophecy through his redemption and the destruction of Palpatine, the galaxy is not simply healed by his actions. The balance that was brought about by his death is an ongoing process, one that requires constant nurturing, reflection, and growth. The galaxy, though liberated from tyranny, is still struggling to find its footing, and this is where the legacy of Anakin, Luke, and Rey Skywalker plays a crucial role. The Jedi Order, as envisioned by Rey, is fundamentally different from the old Jedi Order that had long been bound by dogmatic rules, detachment, and the suppression of emotion. Rey's Jedi philosophy incorporates the strength of the Jedi teachings with a new approach, one that embraces emotions and attachments, seeing them not as weaknesses but as sources of strength. Her approach to the Force is not about control or detachment from the world, but about integration. Rey's belief is that the Jedi Order must be connected to the galaxy, understanding the human condition and the importance of compassion and empathy. Her vision for the future is one where the Jedi can act as healers of the galaxy, helping others find balance not only within themselves, but also in their relationships with others. The legacy of the Skywalkers, which was long associated with conflict, tragedy, and the eternal struggle between the light and the dark, is now redefined through Rey's actions. Her choice to take the Skywalker name and continue their work is symbolic of a new era, one where balance is achieved, not through dominance or the destruction of one side of the Force, but through the embracing of both the light and dark, and the integration of these forces into a more holistic understanding of the universe. The task of rebuilding the galaxy is immense. While the First Order is defeated, its ideologies and remnants continue to linger, threatening to tear apart the fragile peace. The galaxy's citizens, who have lived under the tyranny of the Empire, the rebels, and then the First Order, are now free, but they are fractured and disjointed. The galactic systems are divided, and many planets and systems still struggle with their own internal conflicts. Rey's leadership and the new Jedi Order are essential in helping to unite these systems and guide them toward a new future, one that is not defined by war, division, or the influence of the dark side. This rebuilding process is not easy. The Sith, though destroyed, have left a lasting scar on the galaxy. The First Order has done the same. It is easy to see how the dark side continues to seduce those who seek power or control, especially in a galaxy that has known war for so long. The lessons of the past, the failures of the Jedi and the Sith, must be learned by the new generation. The Jedi Order, as Rey envisions it, will not be perfect, and it will not have all the answers. But it will be different, and it will be guided by the lessons of Anakin Skywalker's redemption, Luke Skywalker's leadership, and Rey's commitment to a future that is rooted in hope, compassion, and the unwavering belief that the galaxy can be a better place. In this new era, The balance in the Force is no longer about the destruction of one side or the elimination of evil. It is about the reconciliation of light and dark. The Jedi, who once believed in the supremacy of the light side, will now have to confront their own internal struggles and flaws. Rey, as the leader of the new Jedi Order, will have to make difficult choices as she works to guide the next generation of Jedi and heal the galaxy's wounds. The Force will remain a guiding presence, but its true nature will be shaped by the choices of those who use it. The Jedi of the future will learn to embrace their humanity, their attachments, and their emotions, while maintaining the discipline and compassion necessary to act in the service of others. Rey's role in the galaxy is one that will be defined not by her connection to the Skywalker family, but by her own actions and choices. Her decision to take the Skywalker name is not just a symbolic gesture, it is a commitment to continue the work that the Skywalkers started, building a better future, not through power or violence, but through self-awareness, compassion, and the will to act for the greater good. Balance in the Force, as Rey understands it, is not an abstract concept to be achieved at all costs. It is a living, breathing force that must be understood, embraced, and respected. The dark side is not something to be destroyed or exiled. It is something to be understood, balanced, and ultimately used for good. The Jedi, under Rey's leadership, will need to adapt to the galaxy's changing needs and recognize that true balance can only be achieved when both light and dark are integrated into the universe's broader force of harmony. The galaxy, still in a state of recovery, will look to Rey for guidance as she becomes the symbol of this new era, a future not shaped by the mistakes of the past, but by the choices of the present. Rey is not bound by prophecy or fate. She is the architect of the galaxy's future. As the last of the Skywalkers, Rey's choices will define the path forward, just as Anakin's actions led to the end of the Sith. But where Anakin's path was marked by sacrifice and tragedy, Rey's journey will be defined by hope, healing, and restoration. The Skywalker legacy, as defined by Rey, will not be one of suffering or destruction, but one of compassion, growth, and the reconciliation of opposites. In the aftermath of Rey Skywalker's ascension to the leadership of the new Jedi Order, the galaxy begins a profound shift in how it perceives both the Force and the Jedi. Rey's rise does not simply represent the return of the Jedi after the fall of the Empire and the First Order, but the evolution of what the Jedi can become in the post-Skywalker era. The foundation of Rey's Jedi philosophy is rooted in her ability to embrace both the light and dark aspects of the Force without being consumed by them. The new Jedi Order under Rey's leadership represents not just a continuation of Anakin Skywalker's legacy, but a transformation, one that will allow future generations of Jedi to act with compassion, understand attachment without fear, and face the challenges of the galaxy with balance and humility. The galaxy itself is in a state of profound change. While the First Order has been defeated, the remnants of tyranny still linger, and the galaxy's citizens, scarred by generations of conflict, must work toward unity. The New Republic, though victorious, faces the difficult task of rebuilding itself from the ground up. Planets are recovering from the long years of war and oppression, and many people in the galaxy are still adjusting to the newfound freedom they have gained. Rey's leadership will be pivotal in guiding the galaxy through this turbulent period, but the road ahead will not be easy. The people of the galaxy are still divided, and not everyone is ready to trust the Jedi again, especially after the fall of the previous Jedi Order and their failure to prevent Anakin Skywalker's fall to the dark side. Rey's role as the leader of the new Jedi Order is not just about training Jedi in the ways of the Force. It is about rebuilding the trust between the Jedi and the galaxy they serve. The Jedi must no longer be isolated from the rest of the galaxy, hiding behind their code of detachment. The Jedi of the future, under Rey's leadership, will interact with the galaxy in a more integrated way, recognizing that their role is not to serve only their own order, but to serve the people of the galaxy. Rey understands that balance in the Force means acting in a way that is connected to others, engaging with those they protect, and learning from the galaxy's vast diversity of experiences. This philosophy represents a complete departure from the old Jedi way, which was often seen as arrogant, detached, and disconnected from the suffering of the galaxy. The idea of balance in Rey's new Jedi Order is also rooted in the Jedi's ability to accept their emotions without allowing them to control their actions. The old Jedi Order, bound by their fear of attachment and the suppression of emotion, viewed emotional attachments as dangerous, something that led to Anakin Skywalker's downfall. However, Rey's approach is different. She believes that Jedi can be attached to others without being consumed by fear or desire. Rey teaches that love and attachment are not inherently dark aspects of the Force, but natural parts of the human experience that, when understood and balanced, can become sources of strength and compassion. It is through this balance of emotion that the Jedi of the future can find true power, not through control, but through understanding and acceptance. The new Jedi Order under Rey's leadership also represents a shift in how the Jedi interact with the galactic government. Rather than operating as an independent and somewhat isolated entity, the Jedi will now work in tandem with the governing bodies of the galaxy. Rey understands that in order to maintain peace and balance, the Jedi cannot remain apart from the society they protect. The Jedi must engage with the galaxy on a personal level, offering guidance, protection, and support to those in need, but also remaining accountable to the people they serve. Rey's vision for the Jedi is one of service to the greater good, not dominance over others. However, this shift in perspective will not be without its challenges. There will always be those in the galaxy who view the Jedi as a threat, who see their power as dangerous or corruptive. There are those who still fear the Jedi, remembering the old Jedi Order's failings and mistakes. Rey's Jedi Order will need to work tirelessly to rebuild that trust, showing the galaxy that they are no longer just a warrior class, but guardians of peace, acting with humility, wisdom, and a commitment to the greater good. Rey's leadership will require her to balance the internal conflicts within the Jedi Order itself, ensuring that her Jedi remain true to their values while also adapting to the ever-changing needs of the galaxy. Another important aspect of Rey's new Jedi Order is the training of future Jedi. The old Jedi Order focused heavily on discipline and detachment, placing a strong emphasis on training young children in the ways of the Force. However, Rey understands that the Force must be embraced at all stages of life. She believes that Jedi training should not just be about discipline, but about personal growth and self-discovery. Future Jedi will be taught to embrace their full humanity, learning to use their strengths and weaknesses to guide their actions. The new Jedi Order will emphasize self-awareness, empathy, and the need to make choices that align with the greater good, rather than simply adhering to an inflexible set of rules. Rey's vision for the training of Jedi is rooted in the belief that true balance comes from the integration of light and dark within oneself, and it is through this integration that Jedi can truly act as guardians of peace in the galaxy. As the Jedi Order begins to take shape under Rey's leadership, the galaxy enters a new era of healing and rebuilding. The Empire and the First Order are gone, and while their remnants still linger in the shadows, the galaxy now has an opportunity to rebuild from the destruction and corruption that have plagued it for centuries. However, the work is not easy, and the challenges ahead are immense. The galaxy remains divided, and the scars of war are still fresh in many corners of the galaxy. The new Jedi Order must not only protect the peace, but also guide the galaxy toward a future of unity and understanding. Ultimately, Rey's Jedi Order will be defined by the balance it strives to achieve. Balance between light and dark, balance between attachment and detachment, and balance between power and compassion. The Skywalker legacy, which has long been marked by tragedy and conflict, is now defined by Rey Skywalker, a figure who embodies hope, compassion, and choice. Through her leadership, the Jedi Order will no longer be confined to the limitations of the past. Instead, it will be an order that embraces the complexities of the galaxy and the human experience, acting as a force for peace, balance, and healing in a galaxy that is still trying to find its way. As the galaxy begins to rebuild, the new Jedi Order under Rey Skywalker faces not only internal challenges, but also a galactic landscape still scarred by generations of war, conflict, and tyranny. While the Sith have been defeated, their influence lingers in various forms, both in the remnants of the First Order and in the minds of those who have been deeply scarred by the dark side. Rey's task is to guide the galaxy toward reconciliation, and her leadership is crucial to ensuring that the lessons of the past are not forgotten, while also forging a new path for the future. The galaxy is in the midst of a period of transition, one that will require patience, compassion, and the ability to navigate both the galactic politics and the ongoing struggle to heal the wounds of the past. The New Republic, though victorious, faces its own set of difficulties. It is fragile, still recovering from the scars left by the Empire and the First Order. There are many systems within the galaxy that still operate under a state of fear and uncertainty, and there are factions who, despite the fall of the Empire, remain loyal to the old ways. These remnants, though scattered, continue to seek power and control, resisting the changes that Rey and the new Jedi Order seek to establish. The New Republic, though founded with the ideals of freedom, democracy, and unity, will need to reassert itself as a trusted institution capable of keeping the galaxy together. Rey's role in this process is not merely about rebuilding the Jedi Order, but also about rebuilding the trust that has been broken between the galactic government and the people they serve. The galaxy's political future will be shaped by those who choose unity over division, and this will require a delicate balancing act between respecting the autonomy of individual systems and creating a strong, unified government that can maintain peace and order. The New Republic will need to find ways to engage with all corners of the galaxy, planets that have been oppressed, systems that have suffered under the First Order, and those who feel disenfranchised by the power structures that have dominated the galaxy for so long. Rey's leadership, with her focus on understanding and compassion, will be essential in forging alliances and building bridges between these fractured worlds. Rey's leadership will also require her to navigate the growing tension between the Jedi and the galaxy's political leaders. The Jedi, who were once seen as warriors for the Republic, now must redefine their role in a galaxy where the wars are over and the need for military action has diminished. The Jedi Order must evolve from a militarized force into a peacekeeping organization that does not act out of force or coercion, but out of wisdom and understanding. The challenge here lies in finding a place for the Jedi within a galaxy that is still learning to trust them again after the failures of the past. While the Jedi were instrumental in bringing down the Sith, their involvement in the Clone Wars and their failure to prevent Anakin Skywalker's fall has left many with doubts about their place in galactic politics. Rey's leadership will be tested as she works to balance the Jedi's role in maintaining peace without slipping back into the rigid structures of the past. The galaxy will need to find new ways of governance, ones that do not rely on the authoritarian control that characterize the Empire and the First Order, but that encourage the participation of all its citizens. The New Republic will have to create systems that address the galaxy's economic and social challenges while ensuring that the lessons of the past, the dangers of tyranny, and the corruption of power are kept in mind. Rey, with her vision of a new Jedi Order that embraces balance, will need to continue to play a leading role in shaping these changes. Her leadership will help guide the galaxy toward a future where peace is not just the absence of war, but the presence of understanding, compassion, and the willingness to listen to all voices, no matter their background or status. Rey's efforts in rebuilding the Jedi Order are also critical to the galaxy's future. The Jedi, who once wielded immense power but became too detached from the galaxy, must evolve to meet the needs of a post-war galaxy. The Jedi's traditional role as warriors and guardians must be tempered with a greater focus on healing, counseling, and mediating conflicts. Rey's Jedi Order will be centered not on the strict code of the past, but on a more flexible and adaptable approach, one that acknowledges the human nature of the Jedi while still maintaining their core values of selflessness and compassion. This will involve retraining the Jedi in ways that allow them to remain true to their mission without repeating the mistakes of the past. Rey's leadership will help the next generation of Jedi understand that their role in the galaxy is not one of command, but one of service, serving the people of the galaxy by bringing peace through understanding, healing, and guidance. The new Jedi Order will also have to address its own internal conflicts. Despite Rey's vision of a balanced Jedi Order, the Jedi will still face challenges from within their ranks. Not all Jedi will agree with Rey's approach, and some may still hold on to the old traditions of detachment and strict discipline. There will be those who fear that Rey's more compassionate and empathetic approach to the Jedi will make them weak, while others may question whether the Jedi should take more active roles in governing the galaxy. Rey's leadership will be tested as she tries to maintain the delicate balance between tradition and adaptation. The Jedi Order will need to find a way to embrace change while also respecting the wisdom of the past. One of the greatest challenges that the galaxy faces in the aftermath of Palpatine's reign is the remnants of the Sith. Though the Emperor is gone, his legacy of darkness still lingers in the galaxy. The Sith, as an ideology, are not easily eradicated. The First Order was built upon the remnants of the Empire, and its leaders were inspired by Sith teachings. Even though the Sith were destroyed in the final confrontation between Rey and Palpatine, the dark side of the Force continues to exert its influence on those who seek power and control. Rey's challenge, along with her new Jedi Order, will be to find ways to counter the influence of the Sith and ensure that the galaxy does not fall back into the same patterns of fear and domination that plagued it for millennia. The dark side cannot simply be eradicated. It must be acknowledged and understood in order to be kept in check. Rey's ability to lead with compassion and teach others how to balance the light and dark will be the key to keeping the Sith's influence from taking root again. The future of the galaxy post-Palpatine and Sith rule is one that is not only shaped by the choices of the Skywalkers, but by the collective will of the galaxy's inhabitants. As Rey Skywalker leads the new Jedi Order, the ultimate question of balance becomes an ongoing process that will define the course of the galaxy's future. While the Sith's reign has ended, their ideology, one of power, control, and domination, lingers in the hearts of many. Rey is not only tasked with rebuilding the Jedi, but with ensuring that the Sith legacy does not resurface. The work ahead is not merely about peacekeeping, but about securing the future and guarding against the darkness that seduces those who seek power over others. As the new leader of the Jedi, Rey Skywalker will have to address the internal complexities of the Jedi Order, the Jedi of the past, particularly during the time of the Clone Wars, had become a military force, enforcing peace through combat. The Jedi Council had fallen into a state of rigidity, maintaining a detached and dogmatic approach that failed to understand the complexities of the galaxy's needs. Anakin Skywalker's fall was a direct result of this detachment, and it's Rey's challenge to ensure that the new Jedi Order does not repeat the same mistakes. Rey's vision for the Jedi is one of compassion, understanding, and service to the galaxy. The new Jedi, under Rey's leadership, will not be warriors in the traditional sense. Instead, they will act as guardians and healers, tasked with preserving peace, not through combat, but through education, mediation, and a deep connection to the galaxy's people. This shift in the Jedi philosophy will face resistance from some who believe that the Jedi must remain an elite order, untouched by the struggles of the common people. Some Jedi will resist Rey's more empathetic and inclusive approach, fearing that it could lead to the weakening of the Order. However, Rey's experience has shown her that the Jedi must adapt to the needs of the galaxy, not remain shackled by ancient traditions. Her leadership is essential to guiding the Jedi through this time of transformation, where they must integrate their beliefs into the fabric of the galaxy, not simply serve as an isolated force. Rey's commitment to balance will be a touchstone for how the Jedi move forward, choosing to embrace the galaxy's diversity and engage with its people rather than maintain their distance and detach themselves from the realities that the galaxy faces. One of the galaxy's greatest challenges is ensuring that the Sith, despite their physical defeat, do not return through their philosophies and mindsets. The dark side of the Force remains a threat, not just through the remnants of the First Order, but through the very nature of fear, anger, and desire for control. The Sith ideology has shaped the galaxy for generations, and while the Sith Lords are gone, their teachings are not easily erased. The dark side of the Force, as Rey learns, is not a force to be eradicated or destroyed. Rather, it is a force that must be acknowledged, understood, and managed. Rey's Jedi Order, much like her approach to the Force, will not seek to eliminate the dark side, but to understand it and teach future generations how to resist its temptation. The Jedi will need to be taught not to see the dark side as a force to be suppressed, but as a part of the universe's balance, something that can be integrated and channeled without succumbing to the destructive tendencies that define it. The presence of the dark side is never fully gone, as evidenced by the resurgence of dark side figures like Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, and the lingering influence of Palpatine in the galaxy. While Palpatine's defeat was a moment of great triumph, his death does not mark the end of his influence. Ben Solo's redemption and his eventual death represents the final healing of the Skywalker family. But even as Ben Solo chooses to redeem himself, there are still those in the galaxy who seek to rise from the ashes of the Sith and continue their work. Rey must contend with the relics of the dark side in the galaxy and ensure that they do not take root again. The Sith's temptation continues to call out to those who are consumed by fear and desire, and the galaxy's future will depend on how well Rey and her Jedi can prevent the return of the Sith. Rey's leadership will not just be about fighting the dark side, but about guiding the galaxy through the turbulent waters of rebuilding. The New Republic, despite its victories, is a fragile entity, and Rey's role as a Jedi will be essential in maintaining the peace and guiding the galaxy toward a more hopeful future. The legacy of the Skywalkers, once marked by bloodshed and conflict, is now a legacy of redemption and peace. Rey will have to navigate the complexities of political rebuilding, not just by enforcing peace, but by engaging with the galaxy's citizens and showing them that the light side of the Force is not a force of domination, but a force of understanding and healing. The ultimate task for Rey, and for the galaxy, will be to create a new path forward, one that acknowledges the mistakes of the past, but is not bound by them. Rey's Jedi Order must be built on compassion, growth, and healing. The galaxy has been through centuries of conflict, war, and tyranny. What it needs now is hope, reconciliation, and a commitment to working together to ensure that the darkness of the past does not return. Rey Skywalker's vision, as the leader of the new Jedi Order, is essential to this process. Her leadership represents a new era of peace, one where the Jedi Order is no longer a detached and isolated organization, but an integrated part of a galactic community. This new path forward is about balance, about recognizing the dark side, embracing the light, and understanding that the galaxy's future lies in the choices made by each individual. As the galaxy looks to rebuild after the fall of the Sith and the First Order, the legacy of the Skywalkers and the prophecy of the Chosen One remains a cornerstone in shaping the future. Rey Skywalker, as the inheritor of this legacy, becomes the symbol of hope for a galaxy that has suffered from centuries of war, conflict, and division. However, Rey's task is not only to preserve the light side of the Force, but to ensure that balance is achieved across the galaxy. This involves political reconciliation, the reconstruction of societies, and healing the scars left by the Sith and First Order. It also means ensuring that the dark side does not find a way to re-emerge, as Palpatine's legacy still lurks in the shadows of the galaxy, despite his death. The galaxy is far from being in a state of peace. Though the First Order has been defeated and the Sith eradicated, the fractures left behind are still very much alive. The New Republic, born from the ashes of the rebellion, remains fragile with systems and planets still recovering from years of oppression. Rey Skywalker understands that her leadership will be tested by the immense challenges of uniting the galaxy's fractured systems. Rey's connection to the Skywalker legacy places her in a unique position, but her role is not simply one of maintaining the peace. She must also help the galaxy find its way toward a future that does not repeat the same mistakes of the past. The political challenges facing the New Republic are immense. Many planets remain deeply divided, torn between the desire for autonomy and the need for unity in the face of external threats. The First Order was not a monolithic organization. It had deep roots in the galaxy, and there are still remnants of it scattered throughout the Outer Rim. Rey, now the head of the new Jedi Order, will need to navigate these complex political waters. Her understanding of the Force allows her to see the galaxy's conflicts from a unique perspective, but it is her humanity and compassion that will make her a leader capable of uniting these divided systems. The galaxy's future will require unity, but this unity cannot come from force or coercion. It must come from understanding and mutual respect. Rey's vision for the Jedi and their role in the galaxy will be crucial to the future of the New Republic. While the old Jedi Order was seen as an institution that operated outside the galactic political structure, Rey's new Jedi Order will work in partnership with the New Republic to ensure that peace is maintained. However, the Jedi Order that Rey seeks to create will not be the same as the old. The old Jedi Order was too rigid, too isolated from the galaxy it was meant to protect. It failed because it ignored the human aspect of its mission, focusing on discipline and detachment at the expense of understanding the galaxy's people. Rey's Jedi Order will be adaptive, empathetic, and grounded in compassion. Jedi will no longer be detached from the rest of the galaxy. They will be engaged in its struggles, working with the people they serve, and using their knowledge of the Force to heal and guide. The Jedi will no longer be warriors, at least not in the traditional sense. The Jedi Code, which once emphasized detachment and the rejection of attachment, will evolve to reflect the complexity of the galaxy in which they live. Rey, in embracing her humanity, understands that the Jedi are not above the galaxy, but are an integral part of it. Her new vision is one where Jedi are healers, guides, and peacekeepers, using the light side of the Force not just to protect, but to serve. This new Jedi Order will not operate from a position of power or control, but from a place of humility and compassion. This shift represents a fundamental break from the Jedi of the past, who too often became trapped in their own dogma and failed to understand the true nature of their mission. One of the greatest challenges that Rey's new Jedi Order will face is the legacy of the Sith. Despite Palpatine's death, his influence still lingers. Kylo Ren's journey was one of deep inner conflict between the light and dark sides of the Force. Rey's struggle to face her own connection to the dark side through her lineage is another reminder that the dark side is never truly eradicated. Palpatine's legacy, as well as the dark side's seductive power, continue to haunt the galaxy. As Rey's Jedi Order grows, they will have to constantly remind themselves that the dark side is not something to be destroyed, but something that must be understood and countered through awareness and compassion. It is this understanding that will keep the Jedi from falling into the same rigidity and fear that led to the Jedi Order's failure during the Clone Wars. Rey's journey is also one of self-discovery, not only as a Jedi, but as a leader. The Skywalker legacy, long associated with tragic fall and redemption, is now one of hope and healing. Rey's personal journey mirrors the galaxy's need for growth and healing. In embracing the Skywalker name, Rey represents a new chapter for the Force, one that embraces both sides, but is not defined by them. She does not seek to eradicate the darkness, but to find balance within herself and the galaxy, ensuring that future generations will understand the complexities of the Force and the choices that must be made in order to maintain balance. The new Jedi Order will face challenges, but it is through these challenges that Rey will define her legacy. The galaxy, though broken, is not beyond redemption, and the Jedi will play an essential role in ensuring that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. The new Jedi Order will be founded not on the principles of detachment and control, but on compassion, understanding, and the recognition of the interconnectedness of all life. Rey's leadership will guide the galaxy through the complexities of the post-First Order era and allow the Skywalker legacy to flourish, not as a symbol of power, but as a symbol of balance and hope for a new generation. As the new Jedi Order takes shape under Rey Skywalker's leadership, the galaxy is confronted with a complex and ever-evolving challenge: how to maintain peace and balance without falling into the same mistakes that led to the rise of the Sith, the Empire, and the First Order. Rey's Jedi Order must be more than just a reactive force. It must be proactive in its approach to galactic peace, offering guidance, support, and wisdom to a galaxy still recovering from years of tyranny and war. However, Rey's leadership will be constantly tested by the forces that seek to destabilize this peace. The First Order's remnants are not easily defeated. Even after Palpatine's death and the fall of the Empire, there are factions across the galaxy that still adhere to the Sith philosophy, whether consciously or subconsciously. The idea of total control and domination over others remains an attractive ideology to many, especially those in the galaxy's more oppressed sectors. These remnants of the First Order will continue to pose a threat, though in new forms. They are no longer led by a singular, all-powerful figure like Palpatine, but rather by a network of those who seek to return to the old ways of totalitarian rule. Rey will have to confront these remnants, not through brute force, but by continuing to strengthen the Jedi Order and fostering the ideals of unity and compassion across the galaxy. Rey Skywalker's leadership will be essential in creating lasting peace, but the challenge is not simply defeating the enemies of the galaxy. It is about shaping a new future that does not repeat the cycles of conflict and destruction that have plagued it for centuries. Her journey as the leader of the new Jedi Order is deeply intertwined with the galaxy's own evolution. While the Sith have been eradicated, their legacy continues to influence the galaxy in subtle and insidious ways. The dark side, despite its defeat in Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi, still lingers like an undying shadow, ever present in the hearts of those who are gripped by fear, greed, or desire for power. The galaxy's healing requires more than just a battle against the remnants of the Sith or the First Order. It requires the healing of its people. After years of war and conflict, the galaxy's inhabitants have become accustomed to violence, fear, and survival. Many have been so long isolated from one another, caught in their own internal struggles and fears, that the idea of a unified galaxy seems distant and unattainable. Rey must overcome this distrust and help bring together the various factions, systems, and people who have spent years at war or under the thumb of oppressive regimes. The galaxy's future is not just about defeating enemies, it is about building a society where compassion, cooperation, and understanding are the primary guiding principles. Rey's task is also complicated by the deep scars left by the dark side of the Force. The Sith manipulated those who were vulnerable, seeking to use the dark side to gain ultimate power. Rey Skywalker, with her understanding of the Force, understands that the dark side cannot be completely eradicated. It exists as a part of the galaxy, just as the light side does. The dark side, while a force of destruction, is also a force of great power. It is not inherently evil, but it is dangerous when used without understanding and without compassion. Rey's Jedi Order will need to embrace the reality that balance is achieved through the integration of both sides of the Force. The light side and dark side are not opposing forces to be eradicated. They are aspects of a larger whole. Jedi must learn to balance both forces within themselves, understanding their nature, their power, and how to channel them for the greater good. This new philosophy is not just about maintaining balance within the Force itself, but also about creating a new societal balance, one where power is not about control, but about service. The Jedi, once seen as warriors, will no longer wield the Force for dominance or conquest, but will serve as guardians of peace, mediators in conflicts, and healers in times of suffering. Their role is not to impose order, but to guide those in need and to bring understanding and unity. Rey's Jedi Order will be centered on the belief that the light side of the Force is not a tool for imposing will upon others, but a force for peace, compassion, and selflessness. However, this vision will not be easily accepted by all. Traditionalists within the Jedi Order, those who still hold on to the old ways of detachment and discipline, may resist Rey's more compassionate and flexible approach. They may argue that attachment to people and things is a dangerous path that could lead to the same failure the Jedi Order experienced in the past. Rey will need to navigate this internal division and unite the Jedi under a common purpose to protect the galaxy through understanding, empathy, and balance. The new Jedi Order must prove that compassion is not a weakness, but a strength that allows the Jedi to engage with the galaxy in a meaningful way and prevent the dark side from gaining a foothold again. The political landscape of the galaxy also plays a crucial role in shaping the future. While the Sith have been destroyed and the First Order has fallen, the galaxy remains a fractured entity, with many systems still recovering from years of oppression. Rey Skywalker must guide the New Republic toward galactic unity, but this will require more than just a simple re-establishment of the Republic. The galaxy's systems are diverse, each with its own culture, history, and needs. Rey will need to bring these systems together, ensuring that the Republic represents more than just the political will of the core systems, but the needs and desires of all people in the galaxy. The Jedi Order, under her guidance, must work in close partnership with the Republic, offering guidance, protection, and wisdom without becoming a military force again. As the galaxy works toward healing, Rey Skywalker's leadership will undoubtedly face new trials and unforeseen challenges. Despite her commitment to balance in the Force, there will always be forces in the galaxy that resist peace and unity. The Jedi, though reborn under her guidance, must remain vigilant in their mission to protect and serve the galaxy. Rey's vision for a new Jedi Order will continue to evolve as she encounters obstacles, both external and internal, that challenge her belief in balance, forgiveness, and the need for empathy. One of the greatest challenges Rey faces is the re-emergence of dark side users in the galaxy. Despite the defeat of Palpatine and the First Order, the dark side continues to leave its mark on the galaxy. There will always be those drawn to its power, tempted by the promises of immortality, control, and the desire to reshape the galaxy according to their vision. The Sith philosophy, though destroyed in Palpatine's death, is deeply ingrained in the galaxy's collective psyche. There will always be dark side users, individuals who seek to harness the darkness to achieve their own desires. These forces must be countered not through brute strength, but through understanding and education. The new Jedi Order must not only protect the galaxy from these new dark side users, but also offer a path to redemption for those who fall into the darkness. Rey's approach to the Jedi is one of compassion. She believes that no one is beyond redemption, and that love, forgiveness, and understanding are the only ways to truly restore balance. Her own journey, marked by the struggle against the dark side, makes her an example for others who seek to understand the Force in a more balanced way. The dark side, as Rey recognizes, is not a force to be eradicated. It is a part of the natural balance of the Force, and it must be acknowledged and understood. However, it is when the dark side is misused, when it is driven by fear, anger, and greed, that it becomes destructive. The Jedi Order must teach those who seek the dark side that it is not a tool to be controlled, but something to be resisted. Another pressing challenge for Rey is the rise of new factions that are eager to fill the power vacuum left by the fall of the Empire and First Order. While the New Republic represents a more hopeful future, there are still forces in the galaxy that are determined to return to a time when tyranny ruled. These factions, though diverse in their goals and ideologies, are united by a desire to seize control and impose their will on the galaxy. These new threats are not as easily identifiable as the Empire or First Order, but they are just as dangerous. Rey and her Jedi must remain alert, working alongside the New Republic to prevent the rise of authoritarian rule and ensure that the galaxy does not return to the mistakes of the past. The new Jedi Order will also face the ongoing challenge of rebuilding trust with the galaxy's inhabitants. The Jedi have long been viewed with skepticism. Their role in the Clone Wars and the fall of Anakin Skywalker have left deep scars on the galaxy's psyche. The Jedi were once seen as warriors who fought for the Republic, but their failure to stop Anakin's fall and the destruction of the Jedi Order during the Sith's rise have created a legacy of distrust. Rey, as the leader of the new Jedi Order, will need to bridge this gap, showing the galaxy that the Jedi can be trusted once again. This will not be an easy task, but Rey's approach of compassion, transparency, and humility will be key to her efforts. One of the core aspects of Rey's new Jedi Order is the training of future Jedi. Unlike the old Jedi Order, which trained young children from an early age and enforced strict discipline, Rey's Jedi will focus on personal growth and understanding. Jedi will be trained not just in the ways of the Force, but in self-awareness, compassion, and the ability to embrace their humanity. Rey understands that the Jedi code of the past was flawed in its emphasis on detachment and the suppression of emotions. Jedi must learn to balance their attachments without being controlled by them. They must be able to love and care for others without allowing those feelings to cloud their judgment or lead them down a path to the dark side. The future of the Jedi Order is also tied to Rey's relationship with the galaxy's inhabitants. The Jedi must learn to be more integrated into the galaxy and its systems. The old Jedi Order was often seen as isolated and detached, acting as guardians who watched from the sidelines. In the new era, Rey's Jedi will be engaged with the galaxy's people, working alongside them to maintain peace, justice, and understanding. The Jedi will no longer be an elitist organization, but a group of individuals who work in tandem with others to serve the galaxy. This shift will require Rey and her Jedi to adapt to the ever-changing needs of the galaxy, recognizing that their role is not to impose their will but to help guide others toward peace and unity. One of the most important aspects of Rey's leadership will be maintaining the Jedi's focus on peacekeeping rather than returning to their previous role as warriors. The Clone Wars were a tragic chapter in the Jedi's history, as they were forced into a military role and lost sight of their true mission as peacekeepers. Rey's Jedi will not act as soldiers, but as guardians of peace, using their powers to protect and serve the galaxy without resorting to violence, unless absolutely necessary. The Jedi will learn from their past mistakes, and they will always strive to find non-violent solutions to the galaxy's problems. This will be a central tenet of Rey's leadership, showing that the Jedi are not merely defenders of the galaxy, but healers who work to bring about long-term peace and reconciliation. The future of the Jedi Order is bright under Rey's leadership, but there are still many unknowns. The galaxy is still reeling from years of war, and political instability continues to challenge the New Republic. The Jedi must remain vigilant, constantly adapting to the evolving needs of the galaxy, while also staying true to the core values of the Force: compassion, selflessness, and the willingness to make difficult choices for the greater good. The balance that was foretold in the prophecy of the Chosen One must be maintained, but it will not be an easy task. The future of the galaxy will depend on the choices made by Rey Skywalker and the Jedi Order, whether they can heal the wounds of the past and build a new future rooted in hope, understanding, and unity. The prophecy of the Chosen One and the complex legacy of the Skywalker family is a thread that runs through the very fabric of the Star Wars saga, touching on themes of balance, redemption, and the eternal struggle between the light and dark sides of the Force. Through Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, the galaxy learns that true balance does not come from the eradication of the dark, but from the reconciliation of both the light and dark sides of the Force. Luke Skywalker, in his refusal to kill his father, Darth Vader, shows that redemption and healing are possible even in the darkest of times. Rey Skywalker, the final heir to the Skywalker legacy, carries this lesson forward, not just as a continuation of the Skywalker name, but as a leader who redefines the Jedi Order and helps the galaxy move forward into a new era of hope, balance, and compassion. The galaxy, while scarred by centuries of conflict and tyranny, finds a new path forward through Rey's leadership. The new Jedi Order, guided by Rey's understanding of the Force, embraces both the light and the dark, recognizing that true peace comes not from the destruction of one side, but from the integration of both aspects of the Force. The Jedi of the future will not be isolated or detached from the galaxy, but will work alongside the people they serve to promote unity, healing, and understanding. Through this new vision, the Skywalker legacy transforms from one of tragedy and conflict into a beacon of redemption, hope, and the potential for a galaxy at peace. The challenges ahead are many. The remnants of the dark side, the Sith ideology, and the ongoing political instability of the galaxy will test the strength and resolve of the new Jedi Order. Yet, Rey's compassionate leadership and the legacy of self-sacrifice that runs through the Skywalker family will guide the galaxy toward a future that is defined not by the mistakes of the past, but by the choices of the present. Rey's choice to embrace the Skywalker name, to lead the new Jedi Order, and to create a future that balances the light and the dark, represents the true fulfillment of the prophecy of the Chosen one that is not a final event, but a living, evolving process, marked by growth, understanding, and peace. In the end, the Force is not a static entity, and neither is the galaxy. The prophecy of the Chosen One does not speak of a singular destiny, but of a journey that requires choice, sacrifice, and the willingness to move beyond the failures of the past. Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, and Rey Skywalker each play their part in bringing balance to the galaxy, not because of a preordained fate, but because of their choices and their commitment to the greater good. The galaxy may never be completely free of darkness, but as Rey demonstrates, balance in the Force is about embracing both sides, learning from them, and ultimately using them to create a future that is grounded in compassion, hope, and the belief that peace is not an impossible dream, but something that can be achieved through unity, understanding, and the collective will of the galaxy's inhabitants. As the Skywalker legacy lives on through Rey, the galaxy's future remains open and full of possibilities. The journey of the Chosen One is not a fixed endpoint, but a story of ongoing growth, struggle, and redemption, and the galaxy, under the leadership of Rey and the new Jedi Order, is poised for a future where the balance of the Force is not merely a prophecy to be fulfilled, but a dynamic and living force that shapes the path forward for generations to come.